I was teaching a class the other day and we were doing our butterfly stretch, and I was just being silly because, got to keep them entertained. I got to entertain myself sometimes. Yeah, right. So I was like, okay, guys, bring your nose to your stinky little toes. And one of the kids goes, I have lovely smelling toes.
Lovely smelling. Hello, this is James Cox of the Martial Arts Lifestyle. We have podcast number 59 today with a very special guest. So I'm excited to talk a little about, or have her talk to you a little bit more about kind of the science of martial arts teaching and teaching correctly with some systems and, how do we really have skills that are set in place to empower lives. This is important for martial arts, for life, everywhere that we go, to just get the most out of it. So this is Miss Samantha Beach. She's a head instructor here at Premier Martial Arts in Abilene. And man, Samantha is teaching right now, rotating 1 week at one location. We have another location. She's there the following week. On an average, there's 6 classes a day. Every day, each school has about 250 students. So you're connecting to over 500 people like in 2 weeks, right? Something like that. Is that how that works? A lot of people, a lot of classes there. But let's kind of start off with what's your favorite part of being able to be a martial arts instructor, to teach all the people that you do, on the daily, and why?
I think my favorite part is being an instructor. Being an instructor means also learning from your students. Like, how are you going to become better and grow at what you love doing if you're not learning from it? And so meeting all those people all the time. I'm not an extrovert by any means. Maybe I seem like one, but I do not like talking to people that much. So it's kind of funny that I found myself in this position. But being able to talk to that many people every day, it's kind of eye-opening because you're like learning how to teach to so many different perspectives. So you're like talking to one kid and you're teaching them how to go through this, and you already went through all the sequences when you were planning for it. And then all of a sudden someone asks something way out of the blue, but at the same time it's super valid. Like, it makes a lot of sense, like that they would think that way. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try this a different way. And it can be so funny sometimes. They'll ask something crazy, but it makes sense to them, and they're like actually serious about it. I'm like, try not to laugh. Okay, let's do this instead. But it's just fun. You're learning from it all the time. There's new challenges, there's new successes. So it's very fulfilling. I just like to teach. I come in here and sometimes it feels like a job, but a lot of times when I start getting on the mat and I start working with the kids, it's like magic.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you, it is magic, right? And we're able to teach and empower their lives in so many ways. That you're an educator. Well, when we're talking about like the different classes, the different age levels, and Selma's pretty good. I don't want her head to get too big over here, next to me, but for me to be able to feel confident of leaving her alone and in charge of these classes. And pound for pound, one of the best instructors that I've ever seen. And I think she's only going to get better and better there. But there's a big difference. So we have a class for 3 to 4-year-olds. Everything is like age appropriate. And then there's a different curriculum, lesson plans on what we're going to do with 5 to 7s. And then you have 8 to 12. So that's a big class. So we also have it split with beginners, then a separate one for advanced. And then we have teens and adults. And then we have specialty classes like straight jiu-jitsu. So that's a lot of things going on. Yeah. So to teach, let's say, a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 50-year-old, whoa, how are you communicating and teaching all these different groups?
Yeah, a lot of times you get, if we were starting like youngest age up, a lot of times with those 3 to 4-year-olds, they're there, well, eventually because they want to be there. But a lot of times they're there because their parents want them there. They want some kind of structure. They want them to burn off some excess energy a lot of the time. And communicating with 3 to 4-year-olds is like, I don't know how to put it, but you have to match their energy. They're very spazzy. They can be all over the place. And what's crazy about it is that you can have one 3 to 4-year-old class one day and then have one the next day, and they're completely different cultures because of the kids that are in them. Some kids are impressively focused for that age, and others are like bouncing off the walls. So you have to get to know the students. It's not just, oh, you go in and you teach a 3 to 4-year-old class. It's like, oh, I'm going to teach a class with so-and-so in it. You know what I mean? You have to match that energy that they're giving off and learn how to teach them and find a way, after getting to know them, how they learn. But you're over here and you're working with the 3 to 4-year-olds, and I had a class the other day and it was awesome because it was a smaller class. So a lot of times with smaller classes, you get to go through a lot more techniques and stuff. And I finally got them to the point where I was able to build on everything that they've learned and put it all together so that they could work on something that was a lot more fun. They got to do jujitsu rolling for once, using all the techniques they learned. A lot of work goes into that, and you just kind of have to channel that energy into something that's productive and that it points them in the direction that'll help them improve their martial arts skills. Sometimes you'll have a kid that's running around the room or looking at the imaginary flies in the room.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know what you're doing over there, but I'm over here. So you have to work with that. Like, say a lot of kids do this. They'll like just fall on the floor. Oh, Miss Sam, I fell. Oh, okay. Well, let's all fall. Maybe we're working on a jab parry. Let's all fall on the floor. Look at that cloud up there. Let's throw our jab at the cloud. You see that tree with the acorns falling on your head? Throw your cross before it hits you. But like, you gotta kind of work with it and go with the flow. It's very much being able to have adaptability.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you do some magical things with those 3 and 4s. We got one class that's 15 to 20 of them.
Yeah, that class is rough sometimes.
And that's a lot, man. But, you know, I have some 3 and 4-year-olds. Well, they started when they were 3 or 4. Some of them are teenagers. I want to even say some grown adults that are with me today that have been here that long. So when I started that program, because we got a lot of requests on, hey, do you teach 3-year-olds? Because we only did ages 5 and up for a long time. We had to adapt a whole different curriculum and lesson plans that is to increase their attention spans, their fine motor skills. They're learning some martial arts, disguised repetition, and really, again, just having fun. And it's kind of like a boot camp to prepare them for when they turn 5.
Yeah.
Now let's step up into, you know, from pre-K to elementary school or whatever, the next level for the 5 to 7s. That's the next level of class. So let's kind of go one at a time there. We kind of see what you're doing with 3 and 4-year-olds. So what's the differences now with a 5, 6, and 7-year-old class?
With 5 to 7, 5, 6, and 7.
And those classes are big.
Yeah, 5 to
right?
7. Yeah, those classes can be pretty big. At that age, they have a lot more focus. They can stand in one place, which is amazing, because then you can teach them actual sequences, combinations. With 3 to 4s, you can maybe do one jab and a cross before they get distracted or bored. You know, so with the 5 to 7s, they actually can hone in that focus and put combinations together on pads, and that's it's a feat in and of itself, you know, like putting all those puzzle pieces together, learning which side to kick with. They're still learning how to use their body with motor skills, you know, gross motor skills, fine motor skills. Yeah, it's still confusing. I'll try to mirror a kid and so that they're on the right side and they'll still switch. And I'm just like, well, I don't want to correct you because you're not wrong. But yeah, so at that age, they have more focus, and yet at the same time, they're still like babies, you know. You still have to kind of nurture their spontaneity, their crazy questions, their energy. They still have a lot of energy at that age. With 8 to 12s, it's a whole different ball game. They're super cool at that age, you know what I mean? So they don't have a lot of silly things to say. 5 to 7s are still so goofy. I was teaching a class. This was another good class. I was teaching a class the other day, and we were doing our butterfly stretch. And I was just being silly because, you know, got to keep them entertained. I got to entertain myself sometimes. Yeah, right. So I was like, okay, guys, bring your nose to your stinky little toes. And one of the kids goes, I have lovely smelling toes.
Lovely smelling.
And I was like, that is such a fun word for like a 5-year-old or 7-year-old. I was like, okay. I started laughing, but yeah, they're so spontaneous still, and at the same time they have that weird focus, so it's kind of a weird balance, but it works, right? So
that group
crazy group
can be fun. They can say some crazy things,
yeah.
But they can sometimes be too much fun.
Yeah, so they make you want to laugh or cry. Like, that is the most honest phrase I've ever heard. Sometimes you want to make me laugh or cry or both. Yeah, I feel that.
So let's move up to the 8 to 12-year-olds, which, you know, worldwide is the biggest demographic of martial arts. The 8 to 12-year-old, that's a big group, and we have to split it up in a few classes. So what's happening with your 8 to 12-year-olds that you feel, I don't know, is useful or even different from the rest of the groups?
Those kids have so much potential, and that's kind of a similar age. That's where they start kind of getting to know themselves and really coming into their personalities a little bit more. So like with every class, those classes are always different depending on who's in it. Some kids are so focused and are great students and are so quiet, and they're amazing, and they don't even realize how good they are. And other kids are all over the place, and the culture of the class can really change depending on how focused the students are and how unfocused they are. Like sometimes it can be rough, and other times you have such an all-star class and you're like, man. And that's where like choosing student of the month every month is so hard, because some classes are just so good. That. I really do. I take it seriously. Like
you do. I come in one day, you're talking about student.
I don't hand things out to people. If I see that they're doing great, they deserve it. You know. But they can do so much. They really can. And they like, you go through all of these techniques, and sometimes you're like, well, what am I even here for? You guys should just teach the class, right? Because sometimes they really do really well.
There's some are junior black belts, some are black belt level. Yeah. Maybe they're not wearing the black belt yet because of their age, but there's some sharp 8 to 12-year-olds.
I want them to come in and feel like, yes, karate, you know what I mean? Because they're going into that age where they get an attitude and they're not excited about it the same way a little 3 to 4-year-old or 5 to 7-year-old is. When you're 3 to 4, you don't even remember yesterday, so everything's exciting at that age. Different. But when you're an 8 to 12-year-old, you're starting to learn and remember things really well, and so you always have to make it new somehow. There's a lot of disguised repetition in what we do, and you have to make it interesting, keep it fresh. You know what I mean? Yeah. But and
that's the tough balance.
That can be hard too.
You can't get good at doing something new and different every day. You know, you got to do some of the same things over and over, just do them differently and with some fun and disguised reps, like you said. So what about, I mean, the word that came to mind is broken. Heck, we're all broken in one way or other, meaning that we have challenges or we have maybe deeper whys and reasons that we're here. People bring people to, people join martial arts for whatever. You got the common things you see: confidence, self-esteem, self-discipline, whatever, self-defense, weight loss, social belonging, community, on and on and on the list. But we get, since that's the biggest group, and you could talk overall, but within the 8 to 12-year-olds, we do see a little more emotions and feels, right? We see a little more broken.
Yeah.
And some of it's their stories, we have many situations, I can't get into them all, but where something, major happened in this kid's life at home, the struggles they may have outside of here. So, and it's a big difference, right? When you can see that kid in there with head up, chest out, on top of the world, and you can see someone come in there, and it's just not
totally
in a good place.
Different vibes.
So what do we do to help? And let's just say that the broken, at not a good place right now.
Yeah, with those, that always breaks my heart. Like when their shoulders are sloped and their head is down, and you can tell they just look like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. That breaks my heart so much, because I see those 8 to 12-year-olds like I see them at my siblings. My siblings are that age, so I would never, ever, ever, ever want my sisters to feel that way ever. With those 8, that's when you want to really make those classes the best part of their day, because some kids come in to get away from the world or get away from whatever's going on outside of the dojo. They come in and you want them to have the best time of their life in that class at that moment, okay? That's the only thing they look forward to all day maybe. And so in that class, while you're teaching them all of these skills, you're teaching them life skills, you're teaching them hopefully how to have that confidence, how to have that self-esteem. And a lot of times it's just giving them that positive boost, that optimism. We like to say that when we're on the mat or in the building, there is no can't. You don't say can't. You only say, I can, and maybe eventually, you know what I mean? You keep learning, you keep working on it, you can do it. I believe everybody can do it. But you don't want to have that negative energy, especially with someone who believes so little in themselves, because we get kids like that all the time. Sure. And a lot of times you have to give them that boost. You have to be encouraging while also giving them the constructive criticism they need. So that can be a struggle in and of itself, but it's just trying your best to make that class the best thing, the best part of their day. Yeah.
So teens, man, what about that one? And then teens and adults.
Teens. I always call it the young adult class, because some of those teens adult classes are just young adults.
Mostly teens, right? Yeah.
So with those classes are so interesting to me. They're so funny. Like, they have so much personality, and they're at the age where they're still a kid, but
it's like you're hanging out at a high school.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the demeanor I take with that. Like, I'm their instructor, so I want them to have to be focused and disciplined and keep working, on their techniques. But at the same time, like I said, you need to have respect, you need to respect them as adults or young adults. If you treat them like they're kids all the time, they're not going to want to listen to you. And adults especially, like if they're in a class full of younger teens, younger adults, that in itself can sometimes be frustrating because the lack of focus can really harbor their own growth. So that's where you kind of have to make everybody understand that you got to work together in order to get the growth that everybody needs, everybody wants to achieve. But just with those classes, you really have to have respect. I personally work with people who are older than me, who are male usually, and it's sometimes hard for someone to come in and respect a small little girl who looks like she's 16, and be like, what am I going to learn from her? You know what I mean? And so that's when you have to have respect for everybody, just going in and show them what you can do and what you know. And hopefully that respect will come with it. You have to earn it. Respect is earned no matter where you're at. There might be like that base level, but respect is either earned or declines depending on how you interact with someone. So with those classes, I think respect is very important.
No, I get it. And yeah, I started teaching, I was 15, 16, 17, and it was harder with the adults to get the respect. But once they figured out that I knew what I knew and they trusted and helped, but it was still a little different, teaching adults, and everybody was older than me in my adult class that I was teaching. And then with you being female, there might be some challenges sometimes from adult men. You're going to teach me how to fight. You're going to teach me self-defense. But we usually try to keep 2 or 3 instructors at each school.
Yeah.
You and I teach a lot together. So if you talk about teaching different ages, what about teaching different belt levels? You can't talk to a white belt the same way you would talk to a blue belt or a black belt. And what's the difference in that?
White belts are just like little babies. You have to care for them. You have to nurture them until they get the confidence they need to do all of the things that maybe a purple belt could do. And really, that's not a whole lot ranked higher, but you have to really nurture them and care for them, because a lot of kids come in and they're shy. They don't know what to expect. When I came in, I was expecting it to be a lot more militant. I really was. And I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. It's kind of chill. And that's what I liked about it. But a lot of kids come in and they don't know what to expect. Maybe they're scared because it's such a big class. And sometimes we do have those high energy classes where there's so much intensity and so much. Those classes are a lot of fun.
A lot of energy.
But that can be overwhelming for a white belt coming in. I remember I had a 5 to 7 a few months ago come in, and I was having the kids do a warm-up. They're running in a circle saying their creed, and I think she got overwhelmed, so she was kind of scared because I was making them say it with intensity, like they meant to when they came in. And eventually we got her on the floor and it was good. But with those white belts, you have to have patience. You have to make sure that they feel welcomed, and my teaching is different with with white belts than it is with those more advanced belts, because those advanced belts have been here. They know what it's like. They should know when they're supposed to be at feet together set and what that looks like and what that means, that they shouldn't be wobbling around. And so maybe I'm more strict with them than I would be with the basic kids, you know what I mean, the beginner kids. But yeah, so with the white belts, they need more nurturing. Advanced belts, man, they should know what they're doing there. They're they come in and they're getting ready for their black belts now, They have to take it seriously, and sometimes we have great classes, and those are really fun classes because they can do so much. But at the same time, they could also have the energy or the state of mind where they're they're super good already, right? So they don't feel like they have to try. And that is one of the things that just irks me so much, because there's always room for growth.
Yeah.
I had a English teacher one time, and it made me kind of annoyed, but she would never give someone 100 on their essays, because there's always room for growth. And that's the same thing with these advanced belts. They have to understand that, yeah, you're really good, but there's always room for improvement. There's always a way to grow more, even if it's by helping someone else. Some of those advanced belts need to learn that still, I think, and that's up to us.
Yep. The belt colors have the philosophy of a white belt is innocence and purity. It's the very beginning. They don't know anything.
Your
And
little
then
babies,
as you get more either work and training or the blood, sweat, and tears, then your belt gets darker and deeper. And then when you become black
It's so
belt,
intense.
it's like, it's like it starts over again. Sometimes that black belt is the rebirth. Yeah, so the different ages, the different belt ranks. And, what about some systems in place that help you teach? We have something that we use that we've learned through our instructor training colleges and stuff, the cycle of instruction. These are ways just to help everybody communicate. So if you're in martial arts, if you're not, if you're teaching, you're a student, it's relationship building, and it's also rapport and connecting, so you can clarify what you're trying to do. I mean, you're going to teach a class where if you're going to teach, a roundhouse kick today. All right, guys, here's a roundhouse kick, follow me and go. I've seen people teach that way. Have really small classes or they end up closing.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said still.
But we have a set system, and I'm on you guys at times. Hey, did you use the cycle of instruction where you left out this part? Or how was your communication skills? Did you use these 3 uses? Blah, 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 all the different things that we have that we try to make our staff accountable for. Tell us what cycle of instruction is. You kind of got that concept, I think.
Cycle of instruction, it makes a lot of sense. I remember learning it at first in the leadership class that you had last year, I think in September. And there's a few steps to that and a few sequences of events, but it makes a lot of sense. It starts with that pre-frame, and that's just kind of when we're on the mat, when we're bringing up a new technique, how we explain the why, or why should I be interested in this? And it's also kind of that attention getter. If you're writing a story or a paper, that first paragraph is supposed to be getting that person's attention. Otherwise, you've lost your audience. And so that pre-frame is kind of to hook in the audience, to engage them a little bit. At the training, we had to get up and do a pre-frame in front of, and it was kind of nerve-wracking because I'm this little
a lot of people,
gray belt, and a lot of people there, most everybody there was a black belt. So that was nerve-wracking in and of itself. But you go up in front of them, and I think I did a break fall, and I had more to it. Like, I had a plan, but once you're up there, it's like, oof. And so I went up there and I was like, okay, guys, so we're going to do a break fall today. It's super important because blah, 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 blah. You want to protect your head when you fall. You could use this when you're skating, blah, 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 blah. And I think my metaphor was like spilled milk. And so I was like, say you spilled some milk on the floor. You're walking through your house and all of a sudden you slipped. But with your break fall, you would be able to protect your head and keep yourself from getting seriously injured. And it didn't end that smoothly because everybody started laughing at the spilled milk part. And then I got distracted and I was like, oh, oops. But I don't know.
I've used banana peel, never spilled milk.
And then you go into your demonstration, and maybe this one could probably use a little work on my end, but that you're not talking at all. You're just making it super intense. That's also part of your attention getter. You're getting the kids to be like, whoa, how did you do that? I remember we were doing our scarecrow drills, and you were having me demonstrate one of the scarecrow drills, and it was a 5 to 7 class, and one of the students goes, wow, how'd you go so fast? And I was like, But that's like a kind of impression you want them to be that engaged, so that way when they're working their techniques, they want to get to the same level that you're at, and then you have your explanation, and that's where you can start talking more. I realize at that training, like, instructors really like to hear themselves talk.
True.
They do, and I'm the same way. I know I am. But you go through your explanation. There's high level, which is very minute details, very detailed. And then you have mid-level, less detail, low level, which is little to no detail. Hopefully you get your kids to that level where you're going through things and they don't need all the instruction anymore. They could probably tell you what you're supposed to be doing. I have kids do that all the time. I'm like, all right, guys, so you're teaching me now. What am I supposed to do? And sometimes it's a hot mess and everybody's not on the same page, especially with jiu-jitsu. And other times they can tell you word for word what you said to them the day before. And so that's always really encouraging. That's always really cool. Yeah, that explanation is just kind of guiding them step by step, sequence by sequence, number by number, how those techniques work. And then finally you got your repetition, and that's when you finally have them work on pads in different ways. Maybe they're facing the windows 1 second, and the next there's laying on the floor, punching the air, learning how to do it in different ways. That's entertaining. And that's when you're working with different belt ranks and stuff can come in handy because you can change it according to their level. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so along the cycle of
Anyway.
instructions, communication, if you can
Yeah.
connect with the students with
Have a
communication.
rapport.
And that's tough, And again, luckily we always have a few instructors at each of our academies. But what are some of your hacks, tricks, to emphasize, to relate, to connect with the students? And this is not just in martial arts, but your whole life, right? Anyway.
Yeah. Communication, the idea of it is just so interesting to me because there's so much kind of like psychology behind it. You wouldn't talk to your boss the same way you would talk to your spouse. You wouldn't talk to your spouse the same way you talk to your kids. And you wouldn't talk to any of those people the same way you talk to a stranger on the street. So it really, a lot of times depends on who you're talking to. Each person, each personality, each perspective is different. And so the main thing, hack, it really isn't a hack. It's like, it seems obvious probably. But when it comes to communicating and building a rapport with the students or with anybody, is just listening. You listen to those people, you kind of get to know who they are, you get to know kind of how they think, their training or their train of thought, their mentality, just by listening to people and observing. And by listening, I don't mean I'm watching you talk, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next. That's not listening, that's like,
right.
I really want to say what I want to say, but I'm going to pretend to listen. And that's what a lot of us, even as adults, like communication is very difficult for a lot of people. People who are in marriages have a lot of difficulty communicating sometimes, which is kind of crazy. And so it's like getting to know those people, a lot of that has to do with being patient and just listening, being open to what people have to say without any kind of bias or without any kind of judgment. And that can be hard for a lot of people sometimes. But with this
It can be hard for
job,
martial artists because martial artists have a lot of ego and stuff. And we'll say often to our team is that it's not about you, it's about them. So, of course, you got to teach, but to be able to emphasize and listen. And I know what you're saying all the time with, we all have that guilty. There was a saying of listen to understand, not to defend. So someone's talking to you, and before you even, and you're already, you didn't even listen to understand their point. Now that's a little bit different, but same concept of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and just navigating those conversations. Sometimes maybe you don't agree with someone, but you see their point of view. You don't want to get defensive and like attack them. You're like, well, that makes sense. I guess I could see that, but I see it more this way. Like you're not attacking, you're just giving your opinion. And a lot of times people don't think through their conversations or communicate that way, and so it's interesting when you meet someone who can do that and who is really good at navigating those situations and kind of being, what's it called? A mediator. Words are hard. But anyway, yeah, just being able to listen to people. And a lot of that comes to just like with life, when they're talking politics, religion can be so hard because people get so defensive about even sports. That's crazy. Really.
Fight, destroy, lose their friendships.
It's like
forever
just
over
listen
sports.
and like have it's easier said than done to have an open mind and to not judge people. It really is. And I don't blame anybody for being judgy because everybody has a different background. Everybody comes from a different situation or environment, and based off of that, that's how they come to see different people. Some people are more skeptical of the world than others, and that sometimes makes sense on why they might be biased or judgmental of other people. But yeah, just being able to listen to the students, no matter what they're saying, whether it's like just hearing them is very important. They need to feel heard or they're not going to listen to you at all. And with 3 to 4 year olds, maybe you're just doing a straddle stretch. I call it a pancake stretch because that's more fun. Pancake on the floor, right? And I'm like, okay, guys, what kind of pancake are you eating? And sometimes I'll get rainbow. I don't know. I don't know where rainbow comes from. I was like, okay, I wonder what that tastes like, I think. But yeah, you just gotta hear them. And then, like I said before, just having mutual respect for people, whether they're 3 to 4 year olds or 50 year olds, that is always so important because they sense when you don't take them seriously or when you're being fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, communication's key, man. It'll destroy countries and friendships and whatever. I saw friends of mine that fought and didn't like each other anymore over Dallas Cowboys. Not to mention over the presidential race.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, just too much, man. That's craziness.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so let's talk
down.
about. You started and you told me recently that maybe you ran into someone you haven't seen in a couple of years or this or that, catching up, right? Because you were working at TJ Maxx before.
Yeah.
Doing this and that. I was like, what are you doing now? What's going on? And you say you're a martial arts instructor. Whoa, and did not see that coming. That was the last thing anybody ever would have thought.
That's the last thing I would have ever thought.
Yeah. So how did this happen? And to be so far from anything you ever thought that would have happened on where you are now and what you're doing for, career. I mean, so... Yeah, how and why? What do people think?
How
and
and why? How? Let's start with how. How is me and my mom started taking classes for self-defense reasons, really, and really we've been wanting to do it for a while, like since I was probably started high school, and we just hadn't done it. And then pandemic hit, and we were like, we should try this out. So we went in, and we liked it, and we kept going for a while. Well, I'm still here, obviously. Yeah. But anyway, so that's how we kind of got started.
You and your mom trained together.
Yeah, we trained. That was interesting.
Yeah.
It was
a
good experience.
There, right?
I think like a year and a half, probably. Yeah.
Tough.
That was interesting. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so you made me lose my train of thought.
All right,
so we were in classes, and after a while, like I was working at TJ Maxx at the time, and it's a great starter job. It really is. It's good for kids who are in high school, I think. But I didn't feel myself growing there anymore. I felt stagnant, and I hate that feeling because then I feel like I get a lot of anxiety, and sometimes I even get close to depression when I don't feel like I'm growing anymore.
Getting a challenge.
Yeah, like I wasn't being mentally stimulated anymore. And so I started working here after I did the leadership program because I was kind of looking to get out of TJ Maxx. And the reason I started there in the first place was because the pandemic hit, and that kind of put a hold on my plans to join the military. In turn was why we took self-defense class, because I was like, I might as well learn something that would make sense with that career choice while I'm waiting. But going back to this, I was leaving TJ Maxx, and so I mentioned that to one of the instructors, and they were like, "Oh, would you maybe want to like be interested in working here?" And I was like, at the time I was pretty pumped, but I was like hiding it.
Oh, okay.
Super mysterious.
I
But I was like, yeah, that would be cool. And so I started taking the leadership program and trying to take steps to hopefully get into the hiring process a little bit. And now here I am for like for a short.
Yeah, that leadership course was intense, and then again, you traveled and went to several other international ones, and we were scouting, a good candidate, and I was like, what about that Samantha girl?
That Samantha girl. I'm pretty sure you did not know my name.
Right.
We were at the picnic, and me and my mom walked up, and he goes, "Hey, ladies," and I knew, I could tell you didn't know our names yet.
That girl with the
but
mom.
It made me laugh.
That girl with the mom that does class. It's the mom.
You're so funny. But so that's how we kind of got started here, and the why of it was more. It wasn't really necessarily because I was super, super passionate about martial arts yet. I am now. Like, I love training, and I love teaching the students and learning different techniques. It's so much fun. But at the time, it was my motivation was teaching. And a lot of that came with the leadership course that you guys were teaching, because halfway through, I think I had to take up the mantle because I don't know where you were. But
we had a good group. I had some... I had some fights or competitions, and I was like, man, I'm not going to be able to teach leadership next week. And it's like, that lady, that Samantha girl. No, I knew
you better have known my name by then.
You embrace the leadership program, but that's things you do in the community anyway. That's your activity in your church. And
that's kind of where I started, was at my church. I'd been there probably for maybe 6-ish or more years now. And the last few years, 3 or 4 years, I was a religious, it's RE, religious education assistant. So I was assistant to the teacher. And just this year, I started leading my own class, which is pre-K, 3 to 4-year-olds. So I started teaching that class, and that's kind of where I started. like, I think I always really had a thing for like helping and educating people, more so since I started in the church, just with life. Like, I love teaching people. Maybe it comes off more lectury sometimes with the kids. I think that's because I get it from lecturing my sisters.
Yeah.
But
that mom role.
I like giving I like giving life advice to people, because some people just don't have that person in their life to get advice from. They need that. But I just like helping to educate people, helping other people grow. I feel that's the best way for me to grow, is to help others learn about themselves as well. Yeah, so when I started teaching and taking over that leadership class, a lot of my skills came from just observing teachers that I had, ways or things that they used in classes that I was like, this is really kind of cool and good for the kids. Like, I could see how this works. And so I've taken things from that and I've implemented it into my teaching style now and into the leadership program. I like coming up with those projects and lesson plans and stuff. I don't know why I find that fun, but sometimes it's stressful, but I find it fun. And that's kind of where I was really getting passionate about teaching. Martial arts is way different from teaching anything else, but it's a very cool challenge. I don't know. It's a very unique experience. Like, a lot of people don't get that, and so that's really cool.
Well, you're a good instructor because you're passionate about that and detail oriented, and you really, really care. I can tell the difference. And I've seen a lot of instructors through the years and a lot of other places that you're genuine and wanting to be obsessed with them getting the progress. That's what I say. Let's be obsessed with them getting real progress.
Yeah.
So the special teams, we scout people for leadership. You were one of those, and now look where you are. We scout people for demo team, leadership team. You started helping me with demo team. We had an awesome class last Friday, actually. What about these special teams? Because that's kind of elite groups. If we have 500 students, but we got 20 people on a demo team, we got 15 on a fight team. Those are a small percentage of people. So what makes a candidate, I guess, for some of these elite groups and teams, and what's your experiences with those?
With those teams, scouting is like, it's having it in the back of your mind. You're not really, unless that's your job, you're not really scouting, but you're in these classes and you see a kid that really has a knack for weaponry or really has a knack for fighting. Like, some of these 5 to 7 year olds, like, they're not necessarily at the age or rank yet where they can join a team, but they have so much potential, and I'm so excited to see them hopefully grow into their rank and into their skills and join a team, because they're gonna rock the world there. It's gonna be awesome. So when you're scouting, it's more like you're looking out for these kids, and like, you want them to be the best they can be. And at the same time, you're looking for people with a specific knack for it, who might enjoy it and who are dedicated enough to keep coming. And that's just not the kid too, but the parents. Are the parents dedicated enough to bringing their kid to those classes? Otherwise, what's the point in recruiting them? Sadly. But that's the same way. Like, at my church, it's hard to get people to join our choir, just because, especially younger students, because you have to really rely on the parents to bring them, and a lot of times parents are just not willing to, or it's too much, or they have too much else going on that they can't. So, and the martial arts is very much, a lot of times people hear it and they think it's a one-person sport, but realistically, it is a team sport, because the only way you get good at it is by working with other martial artists, by learning from other martial artists, and that's teamwork. You can't get good if you're just relying on yourself. You have to rely on your team and to help you grow. And so when I see kids helping each other out, showing them how to do a technique correctly, especially with the advanced kids, I have so much like pride. Like, I'm like, it's so awesome to see a kid that young take on the initiative and have the ambition to go and try and help someone else out.
And it's great when they'll do it kind of low key, kind of whisper, this
and those are the kind of students we're looking for when it comes to leadership fight team demo, because those are going to be the leader teams,
the best of the best.
Yeah, those are the teams that other kids are looking at and want to hopefully become a part of eventually. So just it's scouting, but it's low key.
Right. I got you finding it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of what we do and how we do it. What are anything else you want to say, Sam? Advice, tips, pointers? Could be for the students, the listeners, the non-martial artists even.
Yeah, no, yeah. Just keep coming, guys.
Keep
You know,
coming.
like all you can do sometimes, whether you're feeling down or whether you feel like you're on top of the world, just keep coming to class and keep learning. Always continue to grow. Like that's the most important thing, especially that like I take that very seriously. Personal growth is very important to me. I was just telling you earlier about when I was at TJ Maxx, I didn't feel like I was growing anymore and I felt so down. And so just always find a way to keep growing. Whether it's outside of this place or whether it's here, always find a way to keep growing and always help others grow too. That's how we're going to make the community and the world a better place.
Word. Well, Sam, that was a great interview. You're a good instructor. Let's keep empowering the lives and doing the things that we do. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. So we talked last time about these plants right here, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we had
They're so
we had
cute.
quite a few people reach out and give us some really good names. And what did we go with? This is going to be...
That's Boo Boo.
Okay.
And this is Bam Bam.
Boo
Y'all
and
can't
Bam
see
Bam.
it if you're like...
Oh, yeah, I have to go to the video.
You'll have to go to
YouTube
the
version.
video. But the one in the white vase is Bam Bam. And the one in the gray vase is Boo Boo. I was going to say Boom Boom.
Oh, great. You might have to help me. This is going to be like learning the kids' names. I'm going to say the wrong name.
Or you're going to say Boom Boom. And that's
Yeah.
not going to be good.
That's going to be good. And I think it was Mr. Ando from the Happy Life podcast. He was on our episode number 39. He gave us that tip for the
Very
plant names.
insightful names there.
We got some other really good names. We had
I think
Esmeralda. And
Esmeralda,
Wait,
not
Esmeralda.
Esmeraldo.
Okay, and who else was it? I don't know. There was a lot of names
Started
there,
with an
guys.
E, I think.
So we got to get more plants. Or fish.
Yeah.
We're going to name the fish.
Yeah, we're totally going to get some fish, guys. For real.
Fish and plants. We're going to change
It's on the
this
to-do
place.
list.
So it's done already. All right, guys. Thanks. We'll see y'all soon.